back on Good Morning Artesia, and Captain James Moore from the Eddy County Sheriff's Department is with us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
We are into November already. Can you believe it?
Christmas will be here before you know it.
I know it. Have you done all your Christmas shopping?
Yes.
You have?
I have.
What'd I get, or what am I getting?
It would be a surprise.
I need to think about maybe getting ready for Christmas shopping. But, you get into November, and then all of a sudden, the food drives start. And I was at First Baptist Church yesterday because we're getting their video stream back. So they'll be streaming their service this Sunday from their newly remodeled sanctuary.
Oh, okay.
And we were testing video and different things like that, and it was the Operation Christmas Child, the Christmas boxes that people fill and send off to other countries. And so I got to see that video 4 times. So I'm like, well, maybe I ought to go get a box. But it is that time of year, and so people need to start thinking about that at the Sheriff's Department, from a crime standpoint, or what you guys work on. Do you see any differences in the levels of crime or type of crimes around this time of year versus other times of the year?
Yes, traditionally we see a rise in property theft. Home burglaries and things like that, automobile burglaries, especially at the, you go to your local store and people leave their cars unlocked, or they leave a bag or something in the car that attracts attention. We typically see more of that this time of year than we do other times.
Mm-hmm. So don't leave your car unlocked.
Right.
Would be a first good step.
Especially if it's running.
Yeah. Now I wonder, I have the type of vehicle that you can double hit and it'll start and it'll run for a period of time,
Yes.
But there's no key.
Right.
So even if they see it running, in theory, they can't do anything with it. They can't go anywhere with it. But I don't know how creative some of these people are if they figured out a way to bypass that type of system.
I'm sure, but we haven't seen, to my knowledge, we haven't seen that here, where the auto start.
Mm-hmm.
Because the auto start, you shouldn't be able to engage the gear select.
Right. They did something else to my truck recently in an upgrade. It used to be that if I was backing up to get to the trailer or something like that, sometimes I'd have the door open and kind of use that to help. And now in my truck, they did an upgrade recently in the software of the truck, and now as soon as that door opens, transmission locks down.
From what I understand, the reasoning behind a lot of that is that they're having these gear selects that are electric instead of manual.
Right.
So sometimes people hit the button and they think that they're in park and they're not.
Right.
That's my understanding for the reasoning behind that.
Yeah. Well, see, that could have helped me like a long time ago. Did I tell you the story?
No.
No. I went out to get the car for the family, bring it around front so we can all go to church. And we had a bad spot on the starter solenoid. So sometimes you turn the key and nothing would happen. So we had a wooden handled screwdriver, and we'd pop the hood and we'd, short the solenoid to move it, and then the car would start. So I get into the car, I start to back out, the engine dies. I think I put it in park, but it's still in reverse. Of course, it won't start. So I get out, get the screwdriver, hit the solenoid, car starts up and goes out the garage.
It was ready for church.
It was ready for church. Hooks the door.
Of course.
Door bends backwards, the glass goes push. And so I've got a torn up door and no window. So that would not happen in a modern day vehicle now.
You would think not.
Yeah, but yeah, so maybe it's because of me, something I did a long time ago. That was one of my 2 stupid moves that I did in a car.
Well, I know from reading about years past, in the 60s, I believe, Dodge had the push-button transmission.
Mm-hmm.
And there were several people that were ran over by their cars with that push-button transmission.
Yeah.
So maybe now that they've gone basically back to the push button,
With the knob.
new and inventive, even though it's back from the 60s.
Yeah. Yeah. Lana's
Yeah.
dad used to have a Plymouth Valiant that had the push button transmission on it. So he really liked that car. I didn't particularly care for it because it was a rust bucket.
Right.
We grew up in the Midwest. But in any case, lock your cars. Don't leave stuff open in the car because that's just tempting to people that walk through parking lots.
Putting your credit card in the cup holder or change, dollar bills, what have you. That's just tempting.
Yeah. And people will come along and see that. The first thing they'll do is try the door lock, and then if it's open, it's gone.
It's gone.
And that's a good thing to be aware of. Oil field looks like it's picking back up again.
It has.
And are we seeing some more crime activities associated with that, or is it about the same?
We don't have any new trends that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I mean, there's always things happening out there, but no trends that are extremely alarming. Traffic's picking back up, especially this time of year. We ask that people really pay attention. Like this morning with the fog, give yourself a couple extra minutes to get to where you're going and pay attention.
Yeah. High beam, low beam.
Right.
First car I drove, the high beam switch was on the floorboard.
Of course. That's where it should be.
That's where it should be. That's right. And they're not anymore. They're somewhere on the stock.
That way, if you have your Dr. Pepper in your left hand, you can still work your high beam switch.
Dr. Pepper, that's right. It better be a Dr. Pepper. So, no, you probably see a little uptick in accidents and stuff like that from people not paying attention in the fog.
Yes, we do. As far as I know, this morning's been pretty good. But yes, when we have fog and people don't slow down, you tend to have accidents.
Sure. Now, the sheriff, when he's been on before, he's talked about the sheriff's department involvement with the drug task force. Matter of fact, that's where the sheriff is today, is at a
HIDA. He's at a HIDA meeting, yes.
HIDA meeting. And that has been a concern of law enforcement here for a little while now. What are we seeing? What are the trends that you're seeing with the drug trafficking and so forth that's coming through Eddy County?
Well, as we all know, fentanyl is a real problem. It's really increasing. Our drug task force has been extremely successful compared to others in the region and area. We've managed to take a good bit off of the street, but that's just a dent. It's hard to say, oh, we got 10%, or because we don't know the full amount, but we know that it's not all of it, obviously, and it's, even though we've got quite a bit, it's still a small dent in the.
How do you know what it might be if you come across fentanyl? How is it generally, for lack of a better word, packaged?
What we're seeing right now are pills.
Okay.
We're seeing it in pill form.
And they look like any other.
They look like pills.
They
Just
look
regular
like
medication.
Yeah. And they're pretty toxic, aren't they?
Yes, they're very toxic and easily to overdose.
So just coming in contact with it or touching the pills, can that be hazardous?
It depends on if it's in the pure state or not, but it's always better not to touch any of that because it can, and you don't want to find out the hard way.
Right.
So if you see something, if you come across something, let's say you're emptying your trash and you find something in the alley, it's better not to pick it up with your bare hands. And even fentanyl in the pure state can go through some rubber gloves. So we have to use nitrate gloves. We can't use latex gloves for our folks anymore. And it's pretty nasty. Yeah.
And I guess it's coming from China through Mexico. Is that predominantly where it's coming from?
That's what I understand, yes.
Okay. Well, I was just kind of curious because once I got in trouble, I didn't get in trouble. I got laughed at because when I first moved to Mississippi, I'm from Iowa. When we needed aspirin, we got a pill, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't know anything about headache powders. So I found some headache powders. I didn't know they were headache powders. So I called, and then got laughed at, son, you've discovered headache powder. So that's why I'm just kind of curious, how would you know, or how would you suspect that maybe you've come across something like that? I guess if they're not in properly labeled.
Right, if they're not in a properly labeled bottle or what have you,
mm-hmm.
If you find a Ziploc bag with the substance in it, that's usually a clue.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not going to laugh at you much if you bring something in, like call us about something like that.
Like BZ powder?
Well, some pixie dust or something.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, it's better to be safe than sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And we realize, and we know that the public, there's stuff out there that I don't even know what it is. And, you come across it and you're like, man, what is this? So we don't expect the public to be an expert on anything. So if you see something suspicious, don't be afraid to call us.
Yeah, and but I think that would be the first clue, like you say, if it's in an unlabeled container.
Unlabeled container, yes.
Yeah. And I guess it would get out there because maybe somebody is suspicious that they're about to get stopped or confronted by law enforcement, and so they'll
toss it.
They'll toss it. So it's probably not good for pets either.
No, it's not. It's not good for much of anything.
Yeah.
Other than its intended purpose.
Right, which is not good in heavy doses of it, or extreme doses of it. So that's pretty crazy. I know the county, Eddy County, we had Commissioner Fred Beard yesterday. He said the county has not yet voted on their marijuana ordinance. I think most of the other entities around have pretty well passed those things. From a law enforcement perspective, what kind of is there training that you're going through right now? What I know there's not a lot of advice from the state coming down to help.
There's not a lot of advice from the state, and there's really no training really required in that area other than what the law itself, possession over a certain quantity, you get over, what is it, 2 ounces possession, I believe, or something to that nature. Then it becomes a law enforcement issue for the state of New Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And providing that they don't have a grower,
you have to ask a lot more questions, right?
Right. You just can't. Before, when I started, if someone rolled down the window and it was like Cheech and Chong and the smoke comes out, you smell the marijuana, that was, hey, we got something going on here. Well, now, if you smell marijuana, you just smell marijuana. It's not.
Right. Because right now there's laws on the books and enforcement efforts on alcohol, mm-hmm. driving under the influence of alcohol. Do we know yet if under the influence of marijuana will fall under that category?
Well,
or is
it
that
already
be held
does.
out separately?
It already does.
Okay.
It falls. The statute actually reads alcohol or narcotic. So if you're impaired, it's just being impaired by drug or alcohol.
Okay.
They broke it down. I know a lot of people say, well, alcohol is a drug or whatever. However, by statute, you have to be specific, and they broke it down. So it's already been on the books for many years now. So if we pull over a car and we smell marijuana, it would be almost the same as smelling beer now. Having a beer is not illegal, provided you're the right age and things. So you would have to proceed with your investigation over, does the driver appear to be impaired? Was his driving, the reason why you stopped them, indicate impairment,
mm-hmm.
and you would have to proceed in that manner.
Now, there's a series of things that law enforcement can do to determine if there is alcohol impairment. Are there similar type things to determine narcotic impairment?
Yes, there is.
I mean, I'm not trying to put you on the spot or anything, but I'm just kind of, you guys, your department, your police, sheriff, having to enforce these things,
Yes, but it's a little more entailed.
Okay.
But yes, there is.
Okay. It's not like walking the straight line or touching your nose to your
That's partly
finger to your
included.
nose. That's
yes,
partly
because
included.
you have to be able to show that you have a motor skill function.
Okay. Okay. That's interesting. So I guess that's where. But you say these have already been on the books.
Yes.
So that aspect of it doesn't change.
No, it does not.
But the possession of it.
Right. The possession of the actual substance is what has changed.
Is what has changed. And there's limits, different limits and different permits. And
Right.
yeah. Interesting. Having to go through all that.
It's definitely an interesting time.
Yeah. Staffing wise, how's the Sheriff's Department doing right now?
We're actually doing quite well. However, we have a lot of scheduled retirements coming up in the next year, so we will again continue our hiring process. So if anyone is out there that is interested in a career in law enforcement, please contact us and we will be glad to assist you in filling out an application or whatever you need.
Okay. Is there I know young people primarily are the ones that consider doing this and starting their career, but is there an older, is there an upper age or an upper limit?
There is not. We do not age discriminate.
Well, I wasn't asking that specifically.
Well, I have to say that. No, as long as you can meet the standards for the state, and age is not, the only requirement on age is that you have to be able to turn 21 years of age at the academy.
Okay.
That is the only age requirement that we have. Beyond that, as long as you can meet the standard and pass whatever is required by the state, you can be hired.
Okay. Has there been some interest from people in other parts of the country that are going through some of their defund the police issues, if you will, that have inquired about law enforcement agencies like the Eddy County Sheriff's Department?
We have not received any applications from like Minneapolis or anything like that. No, we have not.
Okay.
If you're going to come from a major metropolitan, the idea of, waking up one morning and saying, I'm going to go to Eddy County, that's highly unlikely.
Yeah.
However, we have recruited people from outside the state before, and usually they have a reason to come here or something. But
Yeah.
we have received other people from other agencies within the state that are coming out of a pretty liberal area.
Yeah. But that doesn't appear to be the mentality in this part of the state. For generally, law enforcement is supported in this part of the state. So,
Right.
Which is a good thing if you're
Yes,
in law
it is.
enforcement.
It's a very good thing. And we appreciate that. And we want to try to keep the public trust, and we appreciate their support.
Very good. Well, is there anything else we need to cover today, or?
No, not that I'm aware of. We just want everybody to be safe, have a safe holidays, and, if you drink or smoke marijuana, don't drive.
Yeah.
And
That'd be a good thing.
yes,
And then if someone does want to inquire about the positions that are coming up or applying for a job with the Sheriff's Department, where's the best place to go to do that?
they can go to the Eddy County website, and there'll be a link there. They can call. They can come down. We'll be glad to help them any way we can.
Very good. Captain James Moore, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving to you.
You
If
too.
I don't see you before then, and take it easy out there.
All right.